Hey everybody, so today we are going to take a look at where it all started, so don't go anywhere. Cheers to all you marketers, the entrepreneurs and the solopreneurs trying to figure it out all on your own. Get ready to deep dive into marketing Funneldementals, the most important area of any business, because marketing done correctly makes the sale long before anyone even takes their wallet out. Are you ready to tackle this podcast and use the information to explode your marketing like Mentos in a Coke bottle? I'm Alyssa Schaefer, and dude, let's do this. All right, so today I'm actually going to tell you the story of how my entrepreneurial journey really began, which does start back when I was like really young. Actually, it even starts when my dad was young. So when my dad was a kid, he would go to, and this is like, back when they don't have phones and all that stuff. So he'd go to 7-Eleven and he'd buy out all the Bazooka bubble gum. And so basically he became, the Facebook for Bazooka bubblegum in Novato, where he used to live. And so and then he'd also he rented textbooks and he'd sell his baseball cards and stuff. So he basically, he had the corner on the market in second grade of, the stuff that they would want or need. So I guess there was this one kid who owed him $250 or something, and it was and growing. And for back then that was a lot of money. And so, and especially to a second grader, I mean, let's just be real, it's a lot of money. And so, I guess that the kid was scared of my dad. And so he went and told his parents that he was scared of this kid. And, so that's how my dad's that's how the jig was up. He ended up getting in trouble because I guess you're not allowed to do that to your classmates. But anyway, fast forward now to when I'm in elementary school. And my first business was I would rent my jeans out. I'd rent them to I started with my sisters and went out from there. But I would rent my jeans. And hey, I was making $30 per jean rental, so it was a thing. And I ended up getting in trouble too. It was not good. So, but anyway, now that I'm an adult, the entrepreneurial itch never really went away. And, my dad, when my dad was an entrepreneur his entire life. He actually founded the company Infotech. I don't know if any of you out there are tech geeks or anything, but Infotech was, it originally started as teaching people how to use computers, and then grew from there. And then, Microsoft eventually bought their software. There's a picture somewhere of my dad shaking hands with Bill Gates. So, he was pretty much always an entrepreneur. However, sorry, it's not an easy thing to talk about, and it's also not, you want to tread lightly, because it's not he was maybe he was a bad person to some people. He was words. I guess the moral of the story is that he went down a dark path, and it didn't end well. He ended up committing suicide about, I guess, almost 4 years ago. So, when people tend to, when you go down the wrong path, the only person that can pull you off it is yourself. And unfortunately, it was something he wasn't capable of doing. But the reason that I'm depressing you all right now is because, the next part of the story. So, after he died, anytime I had any sort of entrepreneurial thought or dream or desire, I shut it down. I was this clearly was not good. This clearly killed me. It was what I associated with my dad going down a bad path. And that's definitely a very long story that, you're just going to have to take my word for it, that I was associating it with entrepreneurial stuff for a legit reason. But essentially what happened was I thought that anything that had to do with entrepreneurship, anything inside me that reminded me of him, because there's 5 people in my family, including the two of us, and like me and him, that was our thing. And so after everything that happened, I associated entrepreneurship with a really, really dark and bad place. And there was one day about, I guess it was about 2 years ago now. I was listening to this podcast. Maybe you've heard of him, Russell Brunson. I was listening to this podcast about like the thought process of an entrepreneur. And listening to him talk, I was like, wow, okay, it really made me have like an epiphany, because I was like, wow, like this wasn't mine and my dad's thing while when he was alive, and when we were hanging out, like it was our thing to like talk about and hang out, and like we always like to like talk about that kind of stuff. It wasn't just our thing. Like the thought processes, and the act of always seeing potential in things. Like you literally look at stuff and you see, how could it be improved? Like seeing that potential, like while that was something me and my dad used to do all the time, it definitely didn't end there, and everybody could sit there and be like, wow, you really thought the whole world was about you. Like, no, it was just being, going through a really hard time, and, thinking that every time I turn around and somebody said, oh my God, you're like your dad, or oh my God, this reminds me of your dad, that felt like a death sentence. And so the entrepreneurship being a really big one, it felt like, furthermore, it felt wrong. It felt like if I went down the entrepreneurial journey that I'd never make it back. Wow. So, but anyway, let's stop being so depressing. God. But anyway, basically it all turned around after, what was it? A 5-minute episode, a 5-minute podcast, from Russell Brunson. Dang. But yeah, sorry, if you're not watching this on YouTube, you can't actually, hopefully you can hear the emotion instead of seeing it, because this is a podcast. I put the podcast out on like iTunes and then also on YouTube. But the reality is that 5 minutes with Russell Brunson changed the trajectory of my life forever. So that's the introduction to Marketing Funneldementals, my podcast, where I talk about, I want to talk about everything from content to content creation to the best types of content creation. I'm actually in the process of releasing a course on quizzes, because quizzes, I swear to God, are the #1 lead gen strategy known to man, and the problem is they're not known. So, well, they are, but they're kept a secret by the people who do know, because obviously if everybody starts doing it, it is going to lose its juice. So I want this course to hit with a bang, so that the people who get on it will benefit from it while it's still in its like prime. Like, let's be real, it's prime right now. But anyway, I needed to tell this story. Didn't realize it was actually going to be that hard to tell, because for any of you out there listening, grief hits you in really weird ways, and you could literally, it's been 4 years. Like, I literally can sit here and think that I'm over it, or that, I'm fine, or any of that. And I can be most days. And then one day comes along and it's as if it happened yesterday. So, moral of the story is a big thank you to Russell Brunson. Really changed my life. All right, guys. Until next time. Thank you for joining. As always, I've had a blast with you guys. So if you enjoyed as well, like, subscribe, share, comment. I'd love to hear from you. For more marketing fundamentals, you can find us on YouTube, iTunes, as a podcast, and also at marketingfunneldementals.com. And I can't wait to see what happens next. Bye, guys.